Hello, today I'm putting Merit's The Uniform Tinted Mineral Sunscreen SPF 45 to the test as a sunscreen. We're going to see if I love it or hate it. I never recommend wearing a complexion product, even though it might contain some sunscreen, as a dedicated sunscreen, because you just can't get the coverage that you need, the 1/4 teaspoon of coverage for your face and neck. It just looks weird. We're going to put this to the test because they are marketing this as a tinted sunscreen. So let's jump into our test of the Uniform Merit's new launch. I'm going to be showing you a midday wear test and at the end of the day, and we're going to see if I can actually use this as a sunscreen. I'm going to do a split face with the Uniform on this side and then the RMS Sun Cover Up in Ivory on this side. This has SPF 50 and this has SPF 45. I don't have my 1/8 of a teaspoon. We did some baking this weekend and it's gone AWOL. So I'm going to use my 1/4 teaspoon and just fill it up at the half mark on each side. So I'll just have to be a little bit careful and just get like a half full. I'm going to apply that. Even if we have a little bit extra, I think that still demonstrates whether the Uniform can actually be used as a sunscreen. I think this is a pretty good skin tone match for me. And I'm pretty impressed how it's going on. It's not looking too heavy. Now for an 1/8 of a teaspoon of the RMS Beauty in Ivory. Now I shared with you the other week that Ivory wasn't quite the right shade match for me. It runs a little bit yellow, and to be honest, I can't find a shade match in the Sun Cover Up. So it might be slightly an unfair test, but what I really want you to look at is the opacity of these colors. Even after blending these out, you can see the Uniform is looking a lot more like skin, my skin but better, and it's a little bit more coverage than I would typically wear. Remember, this is SPF 45 compared to the RMS Beauty Sun Cover Up, which is SPF 50. But even after shearing this out, it's blending into my pores. It really looks terrible. I think even if it was the perfect shade match, it would just look too heavy and too cakey. Now, is that a function of being 50 SPF, all zinc mineral, compared to 45 SPF, all zinc mineral? I'm actually not sure. But even that little bit of difference is making the Uniform the clear winner. Let me wash all this off, and then we're going to start my wear test, and we'll decide if Merit is actually a formula that you can wear as a sunscreen and a tint all day long. Face washed, skincare reapplied, dried down. Now we're going to come in with a full face 1/4 teaspoon of the Uniform in number 26. Okay, here's my 1/4 teaspoon. And I like to apply my sunscreen in layers, so I'm going to do the same thing with the Uniform. Now, I typically don't blend out my sunscreens with a brush, so I'm not going to with the Merit. I'm really going to treat this as a sunscreen. I've got my first layer on and I'm going to let that dry down for just a few minutes, and then I'm going to do my second layer. Second layer applied. As I let this dry down, I'm going to share with you a few more Merit products that I've been trying. I've been trying their Minimalist Stick as a makeup coverage, and it's great for just touching up blemishes and touching up imperfections, but I don't actually consider this a complexion product, despite the fact that the name says it is a complexion product. Now I have both bone and ceramic and bone. Now I honestly still can't decide if I like ceramic or bone better for my eye area. I use it more of concealer as opposed to a complexion product. Maybe if I had like a blemish, I would use this a little bit, or if I just wanted just like the barest of their no makeup days. But I kind of think that the cooler tone is a little bit better for my eye area, the ceramic, because it brightens up my eye. Now I did try the color Linen, but it was way too yellow. So let's try a little bit of ceramic, and I'm just going to apply it with my fingers. Just to brighten up the eye area. That helped brighten the eye area up and kind of get rid of some of that purple in the inner corner. Let's do some mascara. Now, I really do love the Merit Clean Lash Mascara. So the only thing I really don't like about it is that it only comes in black. And I would think for a minimalist line that they would offer a brown, especially if you kind of want that barely there look. I mean, brown is usually my go-to, but I've really been liking the consistency of this formula. It's held up really well. I've had it for quite a while. I've reviewed it before. I actually really like it for that very light coverage on my lashes, a no makeup day. And I actually can build this up with about 3 layers to maybe kind of a medium lash look. You're not going to get that va-va-va-boom look, but it is a really nice mascara. Like I said, I've had this for a while, so sometimes I have to take a spoolie and get out the clumps because it is a little bit more on the dry side than it was a few months ago. I just had to get rid of that one little clump, but for the most part, this is held up really well, and I still love the way it applies. I did about 2 layers. Let's move on to some brow products. I've tried the Merit Brow Pomade before, but the liner is completely new to me. The brow pomade, I actually like. They're both in brown black, just for kind of taming my lashes and darkening them up. It's a little bit more than I would consider a minimalist look, especially because of how dark this is. I actually don't feel like I need to come in with the brow pencil, but let me show you the pencil anyway. I kind of feel like that gives me just enough coverage. In fact, this is kind of maybe a little bit more than I would wear on the average day. So let's take a look at the brow pencil. First thing is I'm not really loving the tip on this. These thin little tips just tend to break off. Maybe I have too heavy of a hand, but they just tend to break off. Actually, I'm going to fill in this little sparse area up here in the front with it. I mean, it looks nice, but I know for a fact that this product is going to be challenging for me to use because of the fact that the tip is so thin. Actually, I've tried it once this morning and it snapped off a couple different times. So just make sure you keep it kind of on the low side so you don't lose any product. Now I have to say it's a fairly creamy brow pencil. It has a nice blendable touch to it. If you wanted to use a brush to blend it out, that could work really well. I'm actually going to use the spoolie on the end of the brow pencil to kind of brush the pomade, loosen it up a little bit, and give it a lighter look. I don't know why so much product came out today because I've used this in the past and I don't feel like the look was this heavy. I feel like that's looking a little better. I just loosened up the pomade a little bit, kind of give that kind of fluffy brow look, and I'll clean it up a little bit. I don't remember the brow pomade coming out so heavy the way it did today. So let's just clean this up. I'm just going to lighten this up with one of my cloud pads from the Clean Skin Club. I love these. Just remove a little bit of that pomade, just a little bit heavy for my personal preference. Okay, spoolie that back into place. Cleanup done. Let's move on to some blush products. I love the Merit Flush Blushes. I have about 6 of them to share with you. I got the Christmas trio. They come in minis a few times a year, and then I have 3 regular sizes to share with you. I'm gonna swatch all 6 colors for you. I honestly can't pick my favorite. I love every Merit blush that I've tried. This is the color Stockholm, Archival, classic blush color Cheeky, Postmodern, a deep rich red, Mood for an evening look, and this is Bespoke, which is an interesting color, and I actually use it as a contour or a little bit of bronzing. Stockholm, Archival, Cheeky, Postmodern, Mood, and Bespoke. All great colors. I use them all. I have never had such a large blush collection ever. I even use them occasionally on my lips as well. And as I mentioned, I use the Bespoke as a bronzer slash contour. I really don't like a contouring product. It always makes my makes me feel like my face is too thin once I've applied it. So it's the perfect answer for me for a touch of bronzer and a touch of contour that just kind of looks barely there. I'm going to choose Archival because the shadow I'm going to share with you today has a little bit of purple in it, and Archival just has a touch of lavender tones to it. So I think they're going to complement each other really well, and you'll see how well these glide on. They look a little scary going on, and I do over apply now. I'm not as worried as I used to be. I'm just going to tap this in with my fingers today. And I try to come up under my eye area with my blush. It just kind of makes a more seamless look to my under eye area and my cheek area. It just kind of blends things out. So there's not that harsh demarcation. Okay, I think that blended out really pretty. Just kind of my skin, but better. As you can see, these blushes are a barely blushed look. They just are so minimalist. That's why I absolutely love them. I cannot make a mistake with them, which is what I love because I tend to be a little bit blush blind and I end up getting more than I realize I'm putting on. Then I'm looking at myself around the day or in a mirror during the day and I'm like, what have I done? I tend to just be heavy-handed with blush. With Merit's creamy blushes, I just can't mess them up. That's why I absolutely love them. I love every color I've tried because they give that hint of color, but they don't look so overwhelming. I did pick up one of their highlighters. This is in Canva. It's a really pretty color. I typically don't wear a highlighter, but their highlighters are so, I don't know, understated, I guess is the best way to put it, that I actually wear these. And I can put a little bit of this along my cheekbone and just kind of get that sun-kissed look that I like, or a highlighter look, like you're outside and the sun is just hitting your face. It's just really pretty, especially for summertime. Now let's come in with a little bit of Bespoke for kind of a contour look or a little bit of a bronzer look. I'm going to do a splash across my forehead and a splash under my cheekbones and on my jawline, just a touch. Contouring always freaks me out. So to blend this, I am going to use my BK Beauty travel brush. This is the 107 brush. Love the travel set. Let's blend this out. Ever so gently. Like I said, the idea of contour always freaks me out. I mean, it always looks really nice once I get it figured out, but it's kind of that extra step that always makes me nervous. Am I just ruining my whole makeup look by doing this? And sometimes contours can look a little muddy. That's why I think using the Bespoke blush really works for me because it's just a little bit of pop of color without making my skin look kind of muddy colored. So I think adding this just gave my face a little bit of depth. Now, would I do this on my regular everyday makeup day? Probably not, but for an extra punch to my makeup, I kind of like it. It definitely is kind of a little bit of an elevation to my daily look. Let's put some eyeshadow on. The Solo shadows by Merit are really not my favorite shadows at all. They tend to dry out, they tend to get turn to dust, they desiccate within the pot, especially if you don't do, there's an extra click that you have to do to really close them and keep them for as long as possible. Even so, they can get fairly stiff fairly quickly. I've been pretty good once I learned that hack about keeping it closed, and it's still a little on the dry side. I really have to kind of punch that seal to get the color moving around. And I have to say the colors are a little bit on the muted side for me. I like a little more pop because my eyes are really recessed, and darker kind of muted colors just make them look a little bit more recessed. So these are just not my favorite shadows, but this is the one in the color Social, and I thought it would go really well with the blush that I chose today, Archival. So we're gonna give it a try, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to sneak in another Merit product to kind of give it a little bit of a punch. So Social is kind of a muted mauve color, but I want to give this a little bit of a pop. So I'm going to come in with the Cava highlighter, and also Versed has a color Haze, which is very similar to the Social, and it's a liquid, so it has a little bit more of a punch to the color. So we're just going to play around with this and see how it works out. And if you're not familiar, Versed is kind of the sister budget company to Merit. They're by the same founder and they launched in Target recently. You can check out my review of Merit versus Versed. in the description down below and in a pinned comment, but I want to just give this a little bit of a punch. I actually like this liquid eyeshadow, and I'm trying to decide, I think I'm going to put it in the crease and maybe bring it along the sides for kind of a little bit of a drama in the crease and give myself a little bit of a purple wing. We're definitely going to be blending these out, so don't worry. And then a little bit of the Kava over the mobile lid to bring the color forward. Lighter colors move forward, and as my eyes are so recessed, I want to kind of make them pop a little bit. That's just the pop of color that I wanted. I'm definitely going to blend these out. If your eyeshadow looks a little bit wonky, blending them can be like the magic trick. I just started makeup in my 50s and I was like, what am I doing wrong with my eyeshadow? But until I got some blending brushes, I realized that eyeshadow needs to be blended, 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 and it can look really beautiful and really soft and gorgeous on the eyes. But if you don't blend it, it can be a little bit harsh and a little bit off looking. If you're one of my channel members and you're watching this in preview, I wanted to remind you that the BK Beauty brushes are 20% off on YouTube shopping. You'll see a link right under here. Just click on that. It'll take you to the BK Beauty site, and you want to use the code YT20, YouTube 20, and you'll get 20% off. And I will definitely speed this up because the more you blend, actually, I have found the prettier it looks. Once you've got the colors in place, I honestly don't think you can overblend a shadow for giving it that seamless look. I just kind of do little circles and bring it all toward the center, and it usually works out. Sometimes I have to do a little bit of cleanup along the side if I've kind of gotten a little bit of mess down below the area where I want it and I want to keep my eyes kind of lifted. But honestly, blending has been the most helpful step that I've learned about applying eyeshadow since I started wearing makeup not too many years ago. Just see how much better that looks? I think I will pop a little bit more of the Canva on the mobile lid just to keep that brightness right in the center. Okay, that's just the look that I want. It's a fairly creamy formula. It's not really designed for a shadow, but I thought I would give it a go. Playing with makeup can be so much fun. You just kind of have to open your mind up and explore a little bit. I have 3 Merit lip products, a Real Sheer Gel Color lip oil in the color Dew, Les Dew. I also have their Millennial lipstick. I really love this one. This is the satin one. They have a matte one. I'm not too fond of the matte, but this is their satin one. Love it. It's one of my go-tos for like an everyday lipstick. In keeping with the lavender, purple, mauve color theme that I've got going on today, I'm not going to use the Millennial. It's a little bit too on the reddish pink side. Instead, I'm going to use one of their lip oils. This is in the color Twin Set along with their lip pencil in Beverly Hills. I have not used a lip pencil like this ever. I really like it. Number one, it's a twist up, which I think is a go-to. I hate the ones that you have to sharpen and then you get the pencil shavings everywhere. No, I think everyone should go to a twist up lip liner. Let me twist this down so I don't knock it off, but I really love these. Now, they won't be everyone's choice. They do keep your lip products from bleeding. However, the texture of it is really different. They're very soft, so they're more like a lipstick texture, which a lot of people are going to find really unusual in a lip liner. Oh, my lips are so dry today. They need a treatment. They need some TLC. And they can actually kind of mush this together for a replacement lipstick. It's a very satin look. It's really a really nice way to fill in lips if you've got some kind of bleached out discoloration, which I do. Many of us do in our wiser years. So I just lay this down as a foundation before I use either a lip oil or one of their lipsticks. I just think this is so pretty. And this is the only color I have, but I think I'm going to be picking up more. This is the type of lip liner that I like. It's soft, it fills in the borders, it prevents bleeding, but it also feels creamy, and I can use it to fill in the lip where I have some sparse pigment. Let's top it off with Twin Set. This has been living in my purse lately. And I just love this lip combination. I'm kind of feeling like my blush has kind of blended in to the Uniform complexion product. So I'm going to apply a little bit more because this is a little bit more dramatic makeup than I wear on a regular day. And I feel like I just need a little bit more blush. So how do you feel the uniform looks now that it's had a chance to settle in and dry down for about 20-25 minutes? It's maybe a touch more coverage than I would wear on the average day. You know me, I like a minimalist makeup look, but we're gonna do a check-in at midday and we'll see how it's lasting, how it's looking. Of course, if you're gonna be out and about in the sun during the day, you're gonna need to reapply. I honestly don't think at this point I would want to reapply this over the amount that I already have on. So for me, this would not be a sunscreen that I could reapply throughout the day. I would have to get a lighter weight sunscreen that I could just use a dry beauty blender and tap it in to get the extra coverage that I need throughout the day. But I am going to be indoors a lot of the days. I'm running errands, just kind of dashing in from the car to run errands. And I will see you at noon, and I will also see you at about 8 o'clock tonight. Hello, I'm at my 8-hour check-in. It's actually 10 hours later. It's been a long, busy day, and I'm pretty impressed with the coverage still. It still looks pretty decent. The glow is obviously gone. My skin has definitely soaked up any of the moisturizer that was in the formula, but it's still got a hint of glow in the cheek area, and you can still see that I have coverage along most of my face, maybe a little bit of breakup around the mouth, but not too bad. I don't see any major creasing in the crow's feet area or the brow area. It is a little bit more matte than it was when I put it on. I have a picture here late afternoon in kind of cold gray weather, but there's really not a lot of glow. My skin has already soaked up any of the moisturizing content of this formula. So I'm thinking that next time I'll add a moisturizer before I put this on. I had a light moisturizer. It wasn't much of one, but maybe the Merit Duo, their moisturizer and primer plus their glow serum might help. But you know, when I first put it on, I would say for the first 4 hours, my skin felt really hydrated. So hard to say, but I have to say that I'm pretty impressed with the lack of breakup of the product, the lack of settling of the product in my fine lines. Now, could I top up my sunscreen throughout the day? I didn't end up doing that because I wasn't outside that much. I took a short walk. It was late in the day. It was cloudy and rainy. So I didn't have a lot of sun exposure and the UV index was fairly low. So I didn't feel the need to reapply. But I'm going to say that the Uniform is a win for wearing as sunscreen. When I first put it on, I have to say it felt a little bit too much makeup for me personally, but I think for the average person who wears light to medium coverage is really going to appreciate this for the SPF factor that it gives, plus the coverage that it gives with the tint. And my final verdict is this is a tinted sunscreen. Thanks so much for joining me for my review of the Uniform. I really want to know if you're using this or plan to use this as a complexion product or an SPF. Once you try it, come back and let me know what you think. I honestly can't use the 1/4 teaspoon on a daily basis to qualify this as an SPF and get the protection factor SPF 45 that it says on the bottle. I am going to use this more as just a minimalist makeup complexion product and use probably closer to 1/8 of a teaspoon. So those are my thoughts on the Uniform. Let me know if you're trying this or if you've already tried it, what you're doing with it. And also, if you're interested in joining the Beyond 50 Skin community as a channel member, my channel membership starts June 1st. This will be very casual, behind the scenes content, product sharing, first impressions, just very casual. I will also be sharing previews of my videos so you'll get a first look at my content and also just some special deals that may come along the way with some brand partners. So if you're curious about joining the Beyond 50 Skin community and kind of getting to know each other more intimately, consider subscribing to our channel membership. Thanks very much for watching and wishing you all a fantastic day.